All right. Well, happy Thursday. The week is flying by, flying by. And I thought we'd just spend some more time. I don't know why I just had the camera on me. So hold on a second. Let me swap over. Blue, blue. All right. Here we go. Keep doing some works here on this Hexcrawloween entry. Hey Magnus, glad you're here. All right. Well, we got some things going on. Where to begin? Where to begin? We've got. Oh yeah, one thing I was thinking about. Well, I had two things I was thinking about. So we have some possible. I'm just gonna put some. I'm gonna call these, I guess, stories. Actually, I'm gonna use a different. Let me use a different thing. I'll use a list. Where is a good old list? There we go. Oh, why'd you end up behind there? Move you down here. We're going to call you stories. And these I'm talking about in terms of things that are going on. What's happening, right? The party arrives on the scene or the game begins, and kind of these are all things that are sort of happening but are unresolved that the party could potentially get involved with. I'm calling them stories, not to mean that they are particularly linear paths for the party to go on, but kind of what's happening, and just some cold water for the working man here. So the one story we've established, right, is the kind of spider war. Sounds. So we've got the spider war, which involves 1 and 002.000. This was the spiders of the flower meadow 0.001 in conflict with the spiders from 02.000. So that's one thing we got. We got that going for us. Maybe I should put this. Where can I stack this? Let's put it up here for right now. So that's number one. We got that one. We established it. The other one we established was the we'll call it the Cursed Apprentices, which involves 000.000 and 004.002. These, let's see, 2 apprentices who suffered curses as a result of a magical duel. 1 apprentice was transformed into a were-rat. That, I think it's at 000.000. And the other was transformed into a were-boar. 4.002. So we got that. So we got these 2 stories. So each of these, any one of these, either of these are are situations the party could embroil themselves into if they so chose. Hey, Death Cup Stories, no worries. Well, how's the project going? The project is, it's going apace, I suppose. I don't know. I always think of, oh, hey, we're making progress, but I don't actually have a good sense of how much progress we're making. I always feel good when I come out of these streams and something's been done. But I feel like, I mean, I guess the thing is that I think that I like what's happening, and so I feel like we're making good progress. Just in terms of ideas and getting things flowing, so it's going. I mean, the end, it's got the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So if I can get this done on time and submitted, and it seems good, then that will say. But I'm enjoying the process so far, which is the best one can say. And we'll say that the tower at 002.001 is important to resolving the curse. All right, I forgot to add that in. So we also have the tower. So we have we have this conflict going on over here. We have this conflict going on kind of on this little axis. We noted, so there's another story that we can kind of develop a little bit more. Oh, you got a bunch of minis to get a color and paint. I hear you. I have never. That's something I'd like to do to try because I've never done it. Maybe the next time I'm at a con of decent size. I know PAX Unplugged they have mini painting things. I should probably do that one time to try it out because I've never done it. But yeah, little by little. Yeah, I mean, I always think whenever you're spending time doing this stuff, are you making progress? If so, then great. Obviously, you'd like to make the most progress you can, but as long as I feel like you're getting something done, good. And yes, we're getting stuff done. So we have the merchant. Call it the missing merchant right now. So let's see, the merchant, where did we get the merchant? The merchant shows up here in the eastern green slopes. So this area. We've also got giant hawks, giant cats, and the wereboars. Now we have this road that you have to cut through here if you're traveling from the mountains, from the high mounts down to this area that I haven't named yet. You got to pass through here. So we've definitely got the possibility that they were waylaid somewhere in here, potentially, and therefore they're lost. They were waylaid, maybe they were captured, then they escaped, but they're lost. So we can actually leverage. There's a couple things. We can leverage the wandering creature because we know that there's a 16% chance, 16.666, whatever, so it's a chance that you're in here somewhere. You could run across the merchant. That would be one way. That would be one way of getting involved in the story. We also have the possibility that someone, depending on which way he was headed, or he or she, whomever was headed, they were headed, either down into the plains or up into the mountains, that somebody was waiting. They had something that somebody wanted. And that's another angle that the party could get involved. So the party started off here in this castle, and hey, what needs doing? Oh yeah, this merchant was supposed to show up with something. And we can have maybe something important from somewhere up here. Merchant never made it. Oh, okay. Well, what happened? We can investigate, and then maybe they can backtrack, find what's happened here, and so on and so forth. Remember, there's this clue here. So we have a monster and a clue, or a creature and a clue. So that clue could be the wreck of the merchant's wagon. We don't know what the merchant was carrying, so let's write that out. A merchant transporting a valuable cargo. What that is, TBD. From, let's see, where would we say maybe it came from? Yeah, maybe from we'll just do that last one. 002 to 003.000. Disappeared. They were last. Oops, sorry. They were last seen leaving 002.002 and heading into the eastern green slopes. Hey, Neon Glitch. So we got the story, right? The missing merchant. They were traveling. They were carrying something, and they disappeared somewhere in here. If we were looking for, we'll put, since we have a thing here, I'm not sure what the creature will be at. We can kind of roll and see if it's a creature, if it's a feature or a creature or a feature or a feature and a creature. We can, let's see, we'll just say right now we'll put the wreck of the merchant's wagon. The wagon has been overturned. The draft horse killed and partially eaten. The valuable cargo appears to be missing. Let's put that there. And like I said, don't know what creature is yet. Maybe I'll need some. We could use some dice for it, but what do we have in the eastern green slopes? We've got these giant cats. So maybe we'll just say killed and when the party arrives, being eaten by a family of giant cats. So there we go. So we have the situation where you can wander in there. You can find this area. If you do, just for dramatic license, some giant cats will be eating the corpse, and that sets up potentially a combat situation, but also one that you might be able to avoid combat if the cats are eating that draft horse. Maybe you can, knowing that it's a hunger situation and not something else, maybe you can figure out a way to lure the cats away or do something else without having to fight them. So I think the nice thing about that is it's that this scenario does give some room for maneuvering, but most likely will end up with them fighting the cats if they try to get close to the wagon. At the same time, like I said, maybe they could lure the cats away with some other kind of food, or maybe we could rule the cats are full and they just shove off, whatever it is, right? But that has fulfilled the two conditions that we set up, there being a clue and there being the creature. Oh, and I'm just going to say that there's a trail leading. Investigation of the site will uncover a trail towards the werebore lair in 004.0002. Or maybe even there could be two trails. Now let's put the one. And we could have some fun with that, some kind of time limits if we wanted to. I probably won't, but you could have something if you want to in your game and say, we know there's the merchant running around in here, and the merchant is not going to be equipped to really survive out here. So they're either going to have to find their way out quick, or potentially they've got giant cats, giant hawks, maybe even the werebores will not take kindly. So you could put some kind of timer on there if they're only so long before the merchant comes up dead. Maybe you could do that. I don't know what I think about it. It'd be kind of fun. At the same time, just for, again, dramatic license, I probably wouldn't want to start any timers until the party kind of picked up, understands what's happening, and then maybe set a timer for fun. Because it could be that obviously from a, say, an XP kind of angle, that getting the thing that's really most important is going to be whatever the thing he's transporting. That's the thing that's most important. The merchant, people will cry for him. His family will weep if they have a family. But that's the thing. But obviously, I would say, well, if you can get both, big ups. if you can only get one thing, get the treasure or get the whatever the item is. We don't know what it is yet, but we can get that. So that would be kind of medium ups. Big ups if you can find that. Medium ups if you find them both. Or sorry, medium ups if you only find the item. Big ups if you find the item and can retrieve the merchant. So it might be fun to put some, once the party figures out that the merchant's not there, then maybe start the clock ticking. I'll put that as a note at some point because I do like that idea, but I just think either I have to put low odds on it if we're going to roll it every day, or just start the clock when the party kind of is, whenever they realize that the merchant, say if they follow this trail down to the werebores and to figure out the werebores don't have the merchant, then maybe I'd start the ticking clock then. Ticking clock on merchant survival. I'll put a question mark. So we'll throw that in there. Let's see. What else have we got? So here we have, we got our creature. We got our situation there. I should probably start taking off these things when I don't need them. Well, I'll leave. I was thinking to make it, because the one thing I recognize, maybe it's not affecting you so much. It's definitely, as I'm looking at it, the map has a tendency to can get kind of busy with all the symbology. Especially because the icons are kind of big. Everything's sort of big and popping out in different ways. So I thought at some point I'll probably remove some of these, but I'll leave them in there for now to kind of remind us all of what's going on, myself in particular. So we got that. So this one's done. Now we have a hazard and a clue. We have some kind of landmark and a clue, and then we just have a clue, and there are the werebores. So what kind of hazard could we have in here? Something that could be interesting. It is a little bit busy, and yes, that's why I removed the text or the layers. Sorry, the text layer, because yes, it gets very, very busy. Yeah, I for right now it's fine. I will probably, because the part of Hexcrawloween, at least one of the rules, is to hand draw your maps. So I will hand draw this probably if I have time at some point. And so the hand-drawn one, I'll try to be better about what's going on. Or at least I'll try to use different symbols and things. We'll see. But yeah, the icons, everything's just kind of big. And the colors are bright. There's just a lot. There's a lot. It's not, and certainly, obviously, if I was playing a game, what I would want to do, I think maybe as a tip, if you're using Worldographer, is take advantage of the fact that you can hide layers. So you can, you want to output this as a player facing map. You can put things and hide them, have some layers be GM only. Feel free to add more layers. Really, layer is, I'll use those layers because you can hide, show layers, do different things with, and I think there's even more controls. Hide, show, do things like that to make the map. You can also, I think, turn off the numbering. You can do a bunch of things. I just have everything kind of on. Oh, Magnus says they're going to try to retool a map that they drew for a previous jam and ran out of time. Yeah, why not? Go for it. And and I'm sure that they wouldn't disqualify your map if it was just shy of the number of hexes or whatnot. But yeah, if it fits the amount of hexes, I definitely would. That's kind of the fun thing with all these jams, I think, is to really use them as tools to kind of get you finishing or whatever you're working on. If they inspire you, great. If they inspire you to do something new, great. If they inspire you to work on something you already got, also great. However it works. All right, so we got the missing merchant. That's already 3 stories. We got more. We got the basilisk that's in the swamp. I don't know what they're doing. Well, we have these. So probably should figure out what is going on. The lake has got all these pirates. I don't know what would be the pirates. What would be going on with the pirates? Maybe there's a little island. I don't know. We got the blue dragon swimming or flying around. We've got The lake is kind of crazy. A gold dragon, and I might change the colors and things depending. We got a gold dragon. The high mounts have a blue dragon, which I think we said was just going to be flying around. Also has a hydra. And then the lake has lizard folk. And maybe the lizard folk will be kind of pirates. Maybe there's some islands out here. And they're raiding the shore. Oh, let's go with that. So, all right, let's see. What now? Questions. So maybe the lake is kind of warm. I don't know if this even exists. Are there lakes that are volcanically heated? I don't know. Is there any? Is there such a thing? Well, there are. Okay, so let's maybe all right, volcanic lakes. Volcanic lakes are among the most spectacular natural features on the planet. These intersections of magmatic hydrothermal systems and the Earth's surface are potentially, poetically speaking, blue windows, quote unquote, into the depth of a volcano. The changing water compositions and colors of these lakes over time provide insights into the volcanic, hydrothermal, and degassing processes of the Atlantic volcano. What seems amazing, but not all what I'm looking for. I'm looking for more. Whoa, what is this? Hold on a minute. A lake suddenly killed people? How did Lake Nyos suddenly kill 1,700 people? On August 21st, 1986, Lake Nyos in Cameroon released a large cloud of CO2, suffocating, over 1,700 people, countless animals, by displacing the oxygen around them. Scientists determined that CO2 had been gradually leaking into the lake, eventually erupting in a deadly release triggered by a rock slide. To prevent future disasters, engineers installed pipes to continuously degas the lake, significantly reducing the risk of another CO2 burst, but leaving the area still potentially hazardous. Wow, that's interesting. That is interesting. What does Wikipedia have to say? Volcanogenic lake. A volcanogenic lake is formed as a result of volcanic activity. They are generally a body of water inside an active volcanic crater, but also can be large volumes of molten lava within an active volcanic crater. Those are lava lakes, and water bodies constrained by lava flows, pyroclastic flows, or lahars in valley systems. The term volcanic lake is also used to describe volcanogenic lakes. Isn't that what you just said? Oh, although it is most commonly assigned to those inside volcanic craters. Lakes in calderas fill large craters formed by the collapse of a volcano during an eruption. So we have some examples. Lakes in Mars fill small craters where an eruption deposits debris around a vent. There are some examples, including that Lake Nyos. Neon Glitch says, talking about Lake Nyos, I believe, a sad story, but actually a cool idea for a wilderness hazard the group might have to deal with. Yes, I'm kind of wondering if there's stuff we can take about that for this. Because I'm wondering if there are lizard folk in there. If I'm thinking, cold-blooded, potentially, then I was thinking about, well, how maybe this is actually a volcanic kind of lake, and it's warmed somehow. Geothermal, maybe more than volcanic. And yeah, it's a neat idea. There might be CO. That could definitely be a hazard in this lake area, as this kind of CO2. That there's a lack of oxygen. Maybe the lizard folk don't excuse me, that doesn't bother them. Mount Erebus. Oh, interesting. Okay, lava dammed. All right. What is a Mars? Mars, a broad, low relief volcanic crater. Okay, so it doesn't have high walls, I guess. So I guess I want to see if there are any, let's see, geothermal lakes. I don't even know if that's a thing. Oh, here we go. Hot lakes. Geothermal pools can be found on every continent. That's fine. These unique and spectacular features are home of a plethora of species. Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Geothermal pools provide a cornucopia of ecosystem goods and services such as energy, a source of hot water, health benefits, thermostat, stable enzymes, tourism sites, and even concert venues. All right, well, I'm not concert venues. Not super concerned about concert venues. Oh, I've been to Blue Lagoon in Iceland. That is a cool place. Totally forgotten about that. Ah, the prismatic pool. Okay, so there's going to be we're going to say that the lake, like, let's make some notes. Or I guess I'll put it into the Lizard Folk Pirates. Lizard Folk inhabit a set of small islands in the middle of the geothermal lake. So here's the thing: if this is one of those interesting questions which can help. If we're looking at, we have these little stories, right? What could be the connection? What could connect some of these stories together? We've got these little stories that are so far unconnected, and they could remain unconnected. Not every story has to interrelate. However, it might make sense. I think it oftentimes you look at, okay, if we're going to have sort of the greater arc or arcs of this area, how might some of these smaller stories connect together? And I think what I'm sensing now is that perhaps the missing merchant and the lizard folk are connected. Something was stolen from the lizard folk. This is what's going to cause them to go up in arms. Something was stolen. Actually, I'm going to say, hold on a minute, of the lake. So let me play this. Let me write this out here. So here's what I think is going on. A magic stone kept the lake warm and habitable for the lizard folk. But the stone has been stolen. As a result, lizard folk are raiding the high mounts and now working their way down the river system, searching for it. Okay. We had here, so now we had Lizard Folk Pirates. The Lizard Folk Pirates, because I was thinking about what's starting it, right? These Lizard Folk have been here since time immemorial. People have been here. They're not just constantly at war for thousands of years or even hundreds of years. It just, to me, it's just one of those things that go, well, how would that make sense? There probably aren't enough lizard people to continue the conflict. I'm presuming that given all this, given the chain of presuming human settlements here, if the lizard folk were just violent, probably something would have happened, and either the humanity here would have been squashed and these would be ruins, or at least some of these would be ruins, or the lizard folk would get kind of squashed if this was something that they just could not be neighbors. So I'm going to say that they were neighbors, or maybe even good neighbors. Maybe there was some kind of trade there we could maybe think about. What could the lizard men have been providing people? What could people have been providing the lizard folk? But that something has now thrown this equilibrium off balance, and it's this stone that was stolen. Then the stone had some kind of relationship with the lake, was keeping the lake at this temperature where the lizard men could survive. So now that the lake is starting to cool, and it's causing, obviously, this is going to, the lizard folk know that this is doom, right? This is their doom. So they are going to be obviously extremely aggressive in trying to get it back. But where did it go? Well, someone gave it to the merchant. The merchant then got waylaid. So now we don't know what's going on, right? But we can, it's one of those almost faithful kind of things. We got this merchant. I'll have to give it a name. I'm just going to call it the lizard folk. Oh, I already had a parenthetical. The lizard folks stone from 000.003. Put a note in here. I know there's only one lake on the map, but I'll still put a note in 0.003. So we don't know who's got the thing, but I'm going to guess that maybe the artifact is now with the werebores. I kind of like the idea. It's a kind of a Tolkienian idea, but I'm sure others have it too. That kind of magic attracts things that you just... I know in D&D it tends to be, you don't know it's magic until you do detect magic on it, but I kind of like the idea of magic items, maybe unless they're specifically designed not to be detected, is having kind of a factor about it. So the stone, and maybe it's just the nature of the stone, the way it's warm to the touch, and maybe it swirls around, but it's something that you see it gets your attention. So it makes sense that the werebores, who maybe don't know what it's about or don't know much about it, would take it. And potentially that the merchant wasn't even carrying very much else with him. That was kind of like, came up, he got that stone, paid for it, maybe, or maybe we're hoping to pay for it somewhere else. We'll have to see we'll have to figure out the chain of custody of that stone at some point to see, because there's a mystery there. Again, depending on where the party is and how they do, there's the potential mystery of who's doing what with what. Of course, we'll also have to engage with the idea that the party may not end up. The party could end up remember, this is being a sandbox. The party could end up not having nothing to do with the merchant, having nothing to do with any of that, and just end up at the werebores, and maybe they do something, and then maybe they clear out the werebores. They just go in and treat it like a little dungeon crawl, and there's that stone, and of course it's amazing looking, so they take it. In which case, that just sets up another kind of potential conflict. Magnus says they like the idea of mages having a witcher sense, kind of like the more exposed or attuned to arcane energies, the better you can sense it, almost like trap sense, I guess. Yeah, but that's true. I like that too. But I even like it just for normal people. Part of the thing where you just see this thing and you're not even sure why, but it's like, man, I gotta have that. I mean, to me, it adds that sort of really interesting play of kind of greed and what's greed and that kind of inquisitiveness, right? Like you see, and again, I guess I will reference Tolkien, like Pippin with the Palantir, right? Oh, there's this Palantir. You know what? You know darn well you should not mess with the Palantir, but Pippin, something about it, can't help themselves. And other people might have been tempted, and of course not everybody's tempted the same way or to the same extent, but it's like, man, I know something's funky with that, so I gotta try it. Or when you see a magic ring and it's just like, oh, you know something's going on. So I don't even know, because I like the idea of that, and of course then you throw in stuff that could be cursed is another one where it might look really attractive. You put it on, you can't take it off. I just like it as a general idea that these magic items sort of speak. They call out, kind of like the One Ring, where we're in the movies and where it kind of whispers, and you're like, oh, I just kind of like it. I kind of dig it. But if you wanted to have it be I would be totally fine with having kind of a detect magic of some sort being just almost a skill of magic users and not a spell also, for that matter. But I might give the magic users a little bit more. They could spend some time studying it and making it details. Whereas This is really just a sense of it's special. You don't know how it's special, but it's special, right? So you want it. People want things that are like that. Magnus says, oh, maybe everyone can sense great magic energies, but mages can more readily identify its quote-unquote alignment or type of magic, i.e. Gandalf immediately knows what the Palantir is in its history. Yeah, I would definitely do something like that, right? There's kind of two. I mean, interesting thing with that, right, is I think in kind of Tolkien, there's definitely this sense of like, oh, there's this magic around. But obviously, I guess it really depends. You know, it's interesting with the other thing with Tolkien too is he was writing things as he was developing it. So you look at what was in The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are not the same. And I wonder if he'd written The Hobbit after The Lord of the Rings, would Gandalf have sensed that it was the One Ring as opposed to just, it's a magic ring? Obviously, at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, he does not know it's the One Ring. It is a magic ring. But at that point, Tolkien was working from The Hobbit. If he had been kind of doing things in a different way, if his world conception was post Lord of the Rings, would there have been a better magic sense? But then, of course, Gandalf can go and do all the studying and figuring things out. So there's probably a way to layer that so it's not just an instant, oh, your magic user understands everything about an item. And I suppose one could argue, if one wanted to, that the spell just is a way of shortcutting having to do all the research, because it takes Gandalf years to get everything together to figure out that it's the One Ring, whereas if he had detect magic, he could have had it in 30 seconds. Like, you know, so there's many different ways to play it. But I just like the idea that magic items kind of have some kind of draw, which can be dangerous. Like I said, it could be, one, it could be cursed. Two, that greed factor. And you don't really have to do that with players so much, because players have their own greed factor. If there's magic items around, players are going to probably want to take them, if only to sell them or to hold on to them, right? That kind of, you don't really have to simulate, I don't think, that too much with your player characters, but I think it's certainly something that can play with NPC. So in this case, the guy's carrying a bunch of stuff and then this really funky rock, they're taking the funky rock. And because it just looks cool, it seems cool, and it's swirling around and strange. And even if they don't know that it's quote unquote magic or what its magic effect is, they know that it's strange, unusual, and it's kind of has a draw to it. Maybe that's the best way to put it. They have gravity. They kind of draw to them. And maybe some do more than others. Maybe it's only some artifacts that have that ability. I don't know. I just really like that idea of having them kind of pull, which also means with some of these things you can play with, maybe the reason. So here's, you can get into kind of some interesting philosophical things, right? So we just came up with it the way we did, right? The merchant's missing, and I had no idea what it was, and now we go, okay, the pirates, he took this, he went missing, but and now we know that this is this kind of very, very magical artifact that he was carrying. You could argue in some way, if you want to paint your world like that, that the whole reason why he got waylaid was that the creatures were drawn, not knowing what it was, but they were drawn to the power of that item, that the artifact has a pull, that gravity. So that it was inevitable, if not here, then somewhere else, that while this guy, who's not a powerful guy, he's just a normal person, has nothing special about them, that the longer they held on to that thing, the more likely that something of some sort was going to be drawn to it, and probably to this person's detriment, which it was. So it's kind of, you can have an interesting sort of philosophical argument, if you want, about why did they get waylaid? Is it just bad luck? Or was it that when you have powerful items going there, if you don't have powerful people kind of there with them, then this is where stuff's going to go bad. Which is intriguing also for if the party gets a hold of it, and we don't know what level they are, but you can have something. Hey, if you've got this thing in your possession, then there's a 1 in whatever chance something's going to show up. And maybe because this is its natural home, in a sense, the area is attuned to it, if you want to use a kind of 5e problems, that it doesn't affect this area. Or maybe the lizard folk just guard it well and keep it that way, or the waters of the lake or something keeps it kind of hidden, keep it secret, keep it safe. And now as it's exposed and moving around, things are drawn to it. So there's a lot of cool ideas. And maybe even at some point, there's the dragon. We got a dragon down here, something. We can have another ticking clock. if the lake cools enough, the dragon imprisoned in its depths will be freed. So there's another wrinkle. And maybe the lizard folk know this. And that is another thing that causing them to move. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 stories, and now we have kind of a larger. We've sort of connected these two together in somewhat of a larger story. All right, what else have we got here? So that's there. We got another clue here. I'm not sure what that would be yet. We have the hazard here. We don't know, but it's also got a clue, and then we have a point of interest. And the clue. What kind of things we have here? We've got merchant. We've got covered. Giant hawks, giant cats. The werebores we've got covered. What could be kind of the point of interest kind of thing? Maybe I'll call that the Hawk's Eyrie. Whoops, I turned it off. I meant to make sure I had selected. All right, the giant hawk. Is that how you spell Erie? Or is it, how do you spell it? How do I? Is that? Oh, I did get it right. I had it right. There we go. All right, so the giant hawk's Eyrie. On stony peaks above the trees, the nests of the green slope giant hawks. Are the nests? Are. On stony peaks above the trees are the nests of the green slope giant hawks. And we'll say there's some treasure here. Mixed in the bones and branches of the hawks nests are some treasure. Let's put that there, right there. There's some treasure. There's supposed to be a clue here also. We'll have to figure out what the clue part is. And what is it a clue to? Is it a clue to the werebores? Is it a clue to the merchant? Not sure yet. Unknown. We got the basilisk who's hanging out in here. What other clue could we have? I know there's at least... It's either going to be the werebores or the merchant, but it doesn't... Like, either the merchant maybe is here, or I guess we'll just put that there's... I'm just going to put something. So... I guess we could see a campsite. In a narrow, rocky cleft. A merchant camped here. let's see. I don't know. Let me write this. Let's write this again. Was a campsite used by the merchant, if not already found, or if not already found and still alive, there is a 2 in 6 chance that when this location is discovered, the merchant is here. Okay. So there we go. So we'll have a campsite. There's a if he hasn't been, if his fate hasn't been sealed by the time you find it, then there's a good chance he's still there. So we can just, so it's kind of plays like, oh, is this somewhere like his last campsite potentially? Now we still have a hazard here. I think maybe we could have, there could be some waterfalls, some cataracts, rapids. All right, let's see. The river flows into a series of waterfalls and rapids at, oh, that's not down here. Lizard Folk Scouts. Call that. The river flows into a series of waterfalls and rapids as it tumbles down from the high mounts. A small encampment. Folk has been built up. Besides the first falls, a number of their shallow boats have been pulled onto the shore here. Hey, Krister. Okay, so I suppose the hazard is the river, is what I'm going to say right now. The hazard's kind of the river coming through. I wonder if that's maybe on. It's interesting, right? Because the river flows between them. So we have this point of interest here, which also could be that I could split this up, actually. So the call it the rough waters. And then here, Lizard Folk Scout Camp. Besides the first falls of the river, we'll make sure on the southern side. So they're over here, and maybe they're making their way down. This might need some other, I might need to bolster that with something else, but maybe not. We'll see. But now at least I've got an initial thing for all of these and for here. And that leaves me with really just 2 more spots. And I'll have at least the start of kind of the hex descriptions, if you will, the kind of stuff that's actually going to be in the hex. Probably could think about what else is going on over here. Well, that's that point of interest, which is good. I don't think I need anything here. This is a swamp. There's a good chance the basilisk is going to be here. I could maybe do something with the hippogriffs, but we'll see. Now, in terms of this spot, it's just kind of empty right now, but maybe we got the blue dragon flying around, so that might be kind of in that area. Here, it's another clue. What could the clue be? Methinks. All right, let's see. So we'll put. So I'm thinking about the clue for this one will be related to the lizard men thing, because we need to try to surface, the question will come up while you're prepping this, if you're running it, or maybe while you're in it, and I think it comes up with a lot of things. I always think about how does the question I think sometimes you have to ask yourself is how do your players receive information that you need to know? Where are they going to get the clues of things? There's always, okay, the NPC knows, but oftentimes sometimes we don't think about that. Well, who's going to know this thing? They don't, and it's easy to look at from above and beyond and saying, oh, well, of course somebody's going to know. Somebody's going to know. But then when you're actually in it, sometimes you're like, well, this guy doesn't know. This guy doesn't know. This guy doesn't know. So how do they know? So we need to put things out there that are going to give potential players, or the potential players, sort of a means to suss out what's going on. Now, I probably in this case will have these lizard folk will speak a language that the players can speak. Like I want them to be able to communicate, so it won't be a matter of, well, I hope somebody picked lizard on their, somebody put lizard on their character sheet, because if you don't speak lizard, then you're out of luck, kind of thing. I would probably make sure that whatever common, if there's a common or whatever common language is here, that the lizard folks speak, because they've had dealings with the people on the shore, and maybe they've tried to reason with the people on the shore, but no one's copping to stealing their thing. And so now they've had to go on the offensive. Like, well, you guys aren't listening to us. And of course, at a certain point, people are going to be a little bit like, well, F you, you're asking us too hard. Or the authorities are going to be like, hey man, don't talk to my peasant like that. Only I can talk to my peasant like that. And so that's how you end up with kind of lizard folk pirates, if you will, running around. Maybe there's I'm calling it abandoned, but it doesn't really have to be. Maybe I'll just put temple in here for right now, and we could leave aside whether it's abandoned or not. That tells the story of the lizard folk stone. Because maybe the stone does something else. Maybe there's something else going on. We can call back to some legends about maybe this dragon or whatever creature that's imprisoned beneath the lake, but only as long as it's warm. Like it's in kind of a sleep. It's in a sleeping bath. And as long as it's in the sleeping bath, this kind of warm water, it's fine. But it's going to wake up if it gets cold enough. And now that the stone is gone, it's going to get cold enough. And of course, like all these things, people don't remember. We've talked about this before. It's like this concept, and this is having a real life problem of, okay, if you have a bunch of nuclear waste that you're digging a pit and chucking in the ground, what do you put around the pit to try to warn people off of digging it up and messing with it? And it's not only how do you do that for people now, but what might you do since this stuff's going to be irradiated for thousands of years? How do you communicate to people who may be thousands of years removed from us? We may have gone full Thundar the Barbarian and fallen and risen again, so you can't count on language, you can't count on shared culture. So what do you do to communicate? Don't dig this stuff up. Go away. Dangerous. Keep out. And I think that you can use temples and other monuments, and they're often used. This is not some kind of innovation on my part that you use these kinds of areas and monuments to tell these stories. This is how they would have done it. They would have, that's what we're saying anyway. We would have put tales, we would have written it in stone, and we've done it in a pictographical way. So you don't have to read our language, just be able to look at a picture and see that this thing, that's a person and these things, and they did something and they put something away, right? It's often used. But it's often used, but I think it has a usefulness because it helps tell the story. And in fact, what we could do probably is maybe this isn't an abandoned. I don't know, we'll call them monks of this temple alive and remembered. And then maybe if we're going to start putting up together a list of NPCs, we can have a leader of the lizard folk pirates. We can have a monk from the mountain temple. Maybe one of the monks is trying to figure things out and go and try to smooth the way. So maybe you can run into the monk. Heck, maybe even the lizard folk are taking one of the monks with them. Maybe whoever is the current Duke, Baron, Lord of this area does not subscribe to what's happening. They think it's all a bunch of poppycock. They don't care. They're not receptive. Maybe they have some other plan. Right? Because, of course, the question should also come up is, well, why are the local lords not responding to what's going on? Maybe there's something else. Maybe that's part of this. They feel like they're gonna, because I think my original concept for this was that you're trying to gain enough renown to end up on a monster hunt, like on a hunt for the white stag kind of thing, like on the Great Hunt, and maybe that's going to. Hey Mark, yep, poppycock. Maybe part of this Great Hunt is that they actually want to summon the big thing so they can kill it, and that might be a very, 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 in actuality, a very bad idea, but that they want to do it to prove some kind of point or do something. I'm not sure yet. Their comprehension of what is under there versus what's really under there is maybe not what it should be. Like the reality is that there's something really terrible, like I don't know, something really bad down there. But they think it's merely not such a bad thing. Yeah, draw it out so they can destroy it, but maybe it's not the thing that they should be drawing out. So there could be reasons as to why whoever, and there could be, the other thing could be is they could be competing too. Because I was saying before, I just said, well, maybe there's one ruler, but it could be that actually these are all individual kind of petty kingdoms, so to speak, so that they're not cooperating. Maybe this guy does see because he's closest to it. Maybe this person, whoever it is, like, oh yeah, this is a real deal, but can't convince. Has sent out, hey, you guys should be, whatever, and hasn't figured out. It could be that there's some kind of evil here, and that they engineered. Oh, that's a good. I kind of like that. The guy in 00300 is engineering it all. All right, let me make a note. I'll put it here. The Lord of 003.000 engineered the theft of the lizard folks of the lizard folk stone and was awaiting the arrival of the merchant. Yeah, so maybe that's it. So this guy here, let's make a note. Call him the Bad Lord for right now. They engineered the theft of the lizard folk stone and were awaiting the arrival of the merchant with it. They will hire the party to find the merchant and stone, but will make clear that the priority is the stone. They will not reveal the true nature of the artifact. So there you go. Bam. So now we have our antagonist. Hey, find this merchant, please. Stone and this thing. You know, I probably won't say what it is. There's something that's important to me. It's an heirloom of my family, and that is most important. If you can find the merchant too, that'd be great. But you know, hey, make sure you find the item. Make sure you find the item first. So I think, where are we at? So we're over the hour. So yeah, I think, you know, again, good progress. What did we do? We filled in pretty much all the spaces. We still have this one, but maybe I'll just put the blue dragon. Well, you'll find them there if you don't find them around, but you know, or maybe I'll just leave it nothing, empty. We've got some stories that we're now putting together. So we've got the Spider War, which we covered yesterday. We've got the Cursed Apprentices. Now we got this idea of the merchant that's missing, the Lizardfolk Pirates, and this greater arc of something bad is bubbling away here in the lake. And if the Lizardfolk situation isn't fixed, it's going to do something terrible. So cool. Progress is being made. We're getting there. And I hope that part of these, I just hope is illustrative in my bumbling around, that it doesn't take a particular genius to put these things together. Just a little time, a little elbow grease, maybe a little input from some friends or acquaintances or even online communities, and you too can put together your own little hex crawl in a little time, right? Because there's probably enough here that I could spend a little bit more and just start playing and just see what happens. But that's just me. But we'll keep prepping it out, because obviously I'm going to put together in some kind of document for the jam. So it'll get into some kind of finalized state. But if I was just playing this, you know, week to week in kind of a home game, I could kind of play it more loosey-goosey with that sort of thing. Anyhow, we will keep trucking away. Thanks so much for watching. And if you're here now, and if you're not here now, enjoy the rest of your day, night, whenever you end up watching or listening to this. Game on, everybody.